Hi everybody, my name is David Liu. I'm running for the 49th District State Assembly, and it's my great honor. It's also a huge pleasure to have Mr. Burton Brink join us for today's segment. Mr. Burton Brink is a former Republican candidate for the State Assembly, also the 49th District. In addition, Mr. Burton Brink is also a retired sergeant from the Los Angeles County Sheriff Department. So his experience as a candidate, his experience as a very experienced law enforcement officer will shed not some light, but a lot of light on what's going on now. So as everybody knows, and a couple of days ago, just in City of Industry, where we are right now, a woman, an Asian woman, was robbed and she was dragged across Costco parking lot. Mr. Brink, what do you think of that?
Well, I think it's terrible, and I think part of the reason that's happening to so much and so often in the state of California, and especially in our community here, is we have allowed our politicians to take responsibility away from criminals and let them have free reign, and now we're not safe in our communities anymore. So the people that are committing these crimes know nothing is going to happen to them. So that's now open season on you, me, and anyone else that's out here trying to live a safe life.
Okay, so I feel exactly the same way. So before a few years ago, this was sort of like still the news. Like once in a while, something like that happens. People will be like, oh, I cannot believe that. It's so dangerous. But I feel like in the past probably 3, 4, 5 years or so, it has become increasingly more frequent. So what happens is that it's almost like a monthly, weekly, or even daily occurrence. I feel like that's not even news anymore. I think right now, the way it's going on right now, because it happens so frequent, so often, it's like people are getting up. You get used to it. You feel like that's the norm. Like right now, I feel almost like if that's not happening, say, you know what, the news comes out. In the past week, nobody got robbed. That should be the news.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's something that's happening every day, why should that be news?
Yeah.
So that's how bad it is.
And there's a lot of crimes that are not being reported.
Yes, correctly. It's because the law we have, because of the zero cash bail policy we have. That's almost encouraging people to commit crimes. Because there's no consequences.
There's no consequences
about it, right? You feel like if I do not commit a crime, if I do not rob someone, it's kind of like I'm not responding to a zero cash bail policy. I have to do something about it. You're inviting me to commit a crime. So it's so bad. And in addition to being robbed, because people feel it's like, oh, you know what, we have so many people, how many people would actually end up getting robbed? But actually, it's not about getting robbed. It's about the fear of getting robbed. You cannot live a normal life. A lot of people say, oh, well, David, you are so courageous, running for the 49th District. And as a Republican, for State Assembly, in Los Angeles County, in California. I mean, it's kind of like, you know it's a long shot. I said no. I'm running not because, I have guts, not because, I'm courageous, because I'm scared all the time. I'm scared of getting robbed. I'm scared that my car will get broken into. As a matter of fact, actually, my car did get broken into just a week ago. So, it has happened to me. I'm sure it has happened to a lot of you. And let's just put it this way. Everybody has a risk of getting robbed. Everybody has a risk of getting their car broken into. It doesn't matter. You're Republican, you're Democrat, you're black, white, or Asian. It happens to anybody and everybody. Enough is enough. That has to stop. So how do we stop that, Mr. Brink?
Well, we stop that by actually voting for people that are running for office that believe in that, believe in keeping our communities safe. You had mentioned it doesn't matter if you're a Republican. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what you believe in that aspect. But, here I am as a 30-year law enforcement officer who is scared to walk outside my house, not because I was a law enforcement officer, but because the criminals know that they can do anything they want right now and nothing's going to happen to them. We have a district attorney, George Gascon, who does not enforce the law. We have George Gascon, who has never, as a prosecuting district attorney for the Los Angeles County, has never stepped foot in a court to hold any case, to prosecute any case. Never in his career has he ever prosecuted a case. Yet he's our district attorney telling district attorneys how to prosecute cases. That's a problem. And if you don't see that's a problem, then you need to look at the problem of what's going on. He came up with so many things when he first when he first got elected that you're not going to have enhancements anymore. You're not going to have priors anymore. You're not going to send anybody to parole hearings. And that just kind of opened the floodgates of what's happening here in the state of California, especially in Los Angeles. George Gascon, he was the co-author of Proposition 47 back in 2014 that started this mess. Actually, it started before that, but that helped, and then it just kind of went from there. And, we need to make sure that we have a district attorney that's actually going to enforce the law in Los Angeles County. And we can't do that unless we vote, and we vote for people that are going to do the job. They are going to enforce the law. Everybody says that we don't have laws. Well, we do have the laws. The laws have been watered down because we have politicians in the state assembly that have changed the laws. They have taken felonies and made them misdemeanors, and that just opened the floodgates to let everybody out. And we need to have someone who is strong to be in there to fight for our communities, to fight to make sure that we have somebody who's representing them to keep our communities safe. And that's what we need. That's why we need somebody like you in the state assembly to make sure that we have someone who can write the laws. You're an attorney. That helps, right? Yes. It's not a plumber that's going to the state assembly. You have an attorney that can help write these laws and fix these mistakes that were done in the last 10 years that have opened up the floodgates for these criminals to have free reign on our communities. I'm scared. I'm scared for my kids. I'm scared for my neighbors. I'm scared for you. I'm scared for everybody that's out there. We need to have safety again. I want to be able to walk outside and go for a walk and take my dog or take my wife or take my kids and take my grandkids and go to the park and not worry about being attacked, not worrying about having my car broken into. Yeah, will they still happen? Yeah, but not like they do now. And like I said, there's a lot of crimes that are not being reported. They're not being reported because they know the district attorney's not going to be prosecuting, so they don't even bother anymore.
It's just so sad. And I agree with every single word Mr. Brink is saying right now. So when you live in fear, right? You want to go out, you want to spend, the weekend, you want to spend Saturdays with your children, but you go into a parking lot, you'll be like, oh, you know what? I should be careful. This guy walking around, maybe he's up to no good, When you park your car, you'll be like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should park my car closer, to the restaurant I'm going to, because, that way I can, when I'm meeting, I can watch my car, make sure the car doesn't get broken into, So living in fear, those worries, you're actually paying the price. You although say that your car did not get broken into, but living in fear, that's a huge price to pay, because you cannot truly enjoy the day you plan on spending with your children. You cannot truly enjoy the quality time you intend to spend, because it's not quality time anymore, because it's no quality, because you're constantly worried, stressed, and scared. So everybody is paying that price. Can you imagine? You think, oh, you know what? I'm a Democrat. They're not going to break into your car. You think when they break into your car, they're going to call you and say, man, if you're a Democrat, I will leave you alone. You're a Republican, for sure, I will break into your car. You don't get messages like that. You go up, you see your car window is broken. Your stuff is gone. That's what happens. So that's why I think that's the worst. Me as a Chinese immigrant, as a Chinese American, I think that I have a lot of Chinese American friends. Every single person I know is a conservative, in a sense that we came to America for law and order. We came to America, for its legal system, for the protection. We did not come to America for lack of it. So it's so important, I think, for us to, support the law enforcement. A few years back, there was this movement of defunding, underfunding a police department. In my view, and it was nothing but sheer stupidity. So, can you imagine? You're living in a country. There's no law. Well, we have laws, but the thing is, if we have nobody enforcing the law, what's the point of having the law? I'm sure people in Los Angeles, you will remember a few years ago, there was this sort of I think there was almost feel like it was like a martial law. There was this emergency order passed by Los Angeles County saying that nobody is out after 6. It was during COVID, but COVID wasn't the only reason. I think a big reason was that, because of this underfunding police department and what have you, all this nonsense. I've been a long time advocate for the law. I've been a long-time advocate for law enforcement. There was this council meeting at the city of San Gabriel. They were talking about if they should defund San Gabriel Police Department. I was very vocal against that. Basically, I said that you cannot be doing that. I think if anything, we should give them more money. We should add more funding, not take money away from them. Because everything costs money. We have canine, teams. We have, officers. They risk their lives for the protection for us, for each and every single one of us. So that's why I was very vocal, and I also initiated a petition. The petition is called Chinese Community Supports Law and Order. In response to an incident that actually happened in New York. Because what happened was that this owner of a jewelry store, Asian owner, a woman, she actually got savagely beaten. There was this. It was a very chaotic situation. She got a bunch of stitches. I think that so she was taken to the hospital. She's hospitalized. I don't know in the end whether or not she was paralyzed, but it was a very, very bad situation. So, as Mr. Brink was saying, enough is enough. We have to step up. It's not just about me, It's about each and every single one of you. It's about us. Because you feel the same way. Like my mother, she's an 80-year-old Asian woman, she doesn't want to go out in the evening. She said it's not very safe, but she wants to go out. She actually wants to go to the supermarket. She wants to eat in a restaurant. But when night falls, she's like, I'm not going out. I said, why not, Mom? Don't worry. We should be fine. She said, no, I don't want to go out. I read the news. I don't want to go out. So basically, she cannot enjoy her life as much as she could, So I'm sure your mom feels the same way. Your father feels the same way, or some of you at least. Do you not want to change that? I want my mother to be able to go out with my mom, because I often work late. When I go home, it's super late. Obviously, it's dark and everything. So I want to go out, have a nice dinner with my mother. But my mother doesn't want to go out. I do not want that to continue. I want to be able to change that. I'm sure you will feel the same way. So that's why I think that we have to get together. We have to send a very strong message to Sacramento and to effectuate changes. We can actually truly live a life, at least with less fear, to truly enjoy the quality time you want to spend with your loved ones, your mother, your wife, your children, your cousins, So that's why it's so important. That's why I think that I'm really thankful and grateful that Mr. Brink can join me on this segment, especially from a point of view as a retired a sergeant from Los Angeles County Sheriff Department. So can you elaborate on that, from a point of view as a retired
Sure.
police sergeant? Yeah.
So as a retired sergeant from the sheriff's department, you mentioned how you don't feel safe going outside. Well, I don't feel safe going outside. As a police officer, I'm used to having my head on a swivel. I'm used to looking around and seeing what's around me, but the normal person does not do that. Why should you? You shouldn't have to. You should feel safe in your community. But we're not safe in our communities because we have our politicians that have made it unsafe. So for me as a police officer or a retired police officer, and now having to put my head on a swivel, now off duty, and I'm now a civilian, right? I'm now a civilian just like you are,
yes.
And I still have to play police officer and have my head on a swivel. That's not right for you to have to do that. So we need to change the laws. We need to change the people representing us. We have people that are elected into office that think that you work for them. And it's the other way around. It's them, the politician, working for you. And we have to make sure people understand that their votes have consequences. And if you're voting for somebody who is not going to do what you would like them to do, make us safe, bring us laws that make us safer, not hurt us like they are now, then that's not the person to vote for. You need to vote for the person that's going to fight for you. You are going to fight for them. You've said that sitting here next to me, that you're going to fight for them, just like I was fighting for them as a police officer to make sure that you were safe in your communities. And that's the type of people that we need to be elected into office and fix the problem. It's taken 10 years to get to this chaos that we have in our communities because of the politicians, because of the people like Gascon and Newsom, because they don't care. They don't care except their own chaos, what they can do to make themselves look good, and they don't care about what's happening to the poor people or just the normal people, the middle class. If you're rich, you can afford all the security and all the security guards and everything around you and live in your gated communities, but the average person can't afford that. The average person has to try and find a place where they can live, they can afford, and the politicians have made that even worse. So it's really difficult that, me as a retired police officer, I thought I could put my hat off and just kind of relax, and I can't do it. I walk outside. I'm scared, daylight or nighttime, because I don't know who's going to come after me, not because I'm a retired cop, but because I may be what they're looking for to rob from. I drive a nice car. You drive a nice car. So we're targets already if you drive a nice car. But even if you don't drive a nice car, even if you are poor and you can't have all these nice things that maybe someone else can have, you can still become a victim because you're a target. They know that anybody is a target. These criminals know that they can attack you, and you're not going to fight back because you're not ready for it. You're not experienced in how to fight back. I can at least fight back. I have that opportunity, but I'm still going to end up being a victim, right? Because if I got attacked and I have to attack back, I was a victim just like you would have been. I just may have a little more knowledge of what I can do and what I can do to protect myself. So it's very important that our politicians realize that we have to get back to protecting our communities, get back to holding people accountable for their actions. If, when you were growing up and you did something wrong, your parent, mom, dad, whoever, would discipline you for that to make you so you wouldn't do it again. Well, the criminals growing up in our system are not having any consequences. They're not being punished. And crime is now paying. And we need to fix that. We don't want them to think that, hey, yeah, I could do anything I want. Oh, okay, if I only have to do a month in jail, but I made $100,000 because I stole this guy's car and I sold it and, and all the jewelry or whatever they have and other items, then it's a win. They don't care. It's only a month. They can do that in their sleep. We need to make things more difficult for these criminals. We need to make sure that they are accountable for their actions. We need to be safe. Our families need to be safe. Our kids need to be safe in our communities. And we can't do that under the current policies that are out there. We need to fix it. We need to go back to the way it was in the late 90s when I think things were as safe as they could be at that time, because when I first became a cop, it was crazy. And it's kind of like that. It's almost worse now than it was back then. So why did we change? Because they don't want people to be in jail? No. You have a society, people are going to do bad things. You can't stop that. That's just in their DNA. For whatever reason, they feel that they're going to have to commit a crime because that's all they know. They don't want to do the right things. So if that's it, then you should be incarcerated and you should be held responsible for what crime you did. Not a little slap on the wrist. Yes, I believe in that 3-strike thing, right?
Yes.
1 strike,
yeah.
2 strikes. Okay. Yeah. If you haven't learned and you got your third strike's going to give you that more maximum sentence to stop you from doing what you're doing. Yes, we need to have some reform in our criminal justice system. There's no doubt about that. Law enforcement agrees, politicians agree, people agree that we need to fix it, but you don't fix it by getting rid of the laws and making them felonies into misdemeanors and letting criminals back out on the street just to redo it again and again. We have people who are getting out of jail and committing the crime. They get released at 8 o'clock in the morning, and at noon they've already committed 4 crimes. It's like, that's a problem. You don't want that type of person out. Part of that zero bail thing.
Yes.
And they said that they brought zero bail in because the poor can't afford bail like you rich folks can. You guys have the money to do that. They don't realize that there's a thing called bail deviation. And everybody who has been arrested has a right to a bail deviation hearing. They call a phone number. It's free. It doesn't count against your phone call when you get arrested for something. And if you've never been arrested before, you're right. You'll get out without bail. But if you have a history of committing crimes, especially violent crimes, and you're letting them back out, what do you think is going to happen? That person is going to continue to commit violent crimes. And this program has proven that beyond a reasonable doubt, right?
Yes.
As an attorney, you
Yes.
know beyond
Yes.
a reasonable doubt
Yes.
that zero bail is the wrong thing. As you said, is stupid.
Yes.
It is the stupidest things our politicians have done, and it has made us unsafe, and that's why we need to fix this. That's why we need someone like you in the state assembly to fight for us, our families, our communities, no matter what age, what race, anything. We have to be safe in our communities. You're the man to do it. That's why I'm supporting you for state assembly, to make sure that you're our voice. And I'll be right there helping you to make sure you got the right tools to get there. And do it when we get there to protect everybody and protect our communities.
Thank you so very much. So the bottom line is this. So if we don't make changes, if the situation continues, everyone, me, you, my mom, your mom, so everybody is paying the price because everybody is constantly living in fear. Like Mr. Brink wants to retire, but he actually, although he is officially retired, but he can't retire. Because his mindset, he still has that working mindset. You know why? Because of the situation it is right now. Because of the fact that, there is a lot of people, a lot of actual criminals running around. Because the fact that, say for instance, that person, he just robbed someone, but he, wasn't incarcerated. He's out because of the zero bail policy. The sheer fact that there's someone that's out there, he may rob you, he may break into your car, that is a huge price to pay. Because what happens is that you cannot sit in a restaurant, you cannot play ball with your children in a park without worrying about something may happen. You may think, oh, he seems like last time something happened here. Man, I'm here, maybe, hopefully, the same thing is not going to happen to me. But you cannot make sure of that because that person is not in custody. Because he's out, maybe he will do it again. And the chances are, statistically speaking, a lot of people, they are repeated offenders. So that's why, as Mr. Brink was saying, if you've done before multiple times, you should be locked up. You should be in custody.
You know,
Yeah.
talking about our safety, I mean,
Yeah.
in the last year, we have had cars on my street broken into probably no less than 10 times. Okay, that's unheard of where I live. We never really have any type of issues like that. And literally in the last 2 months, I have watched somebody go up, and this is in the middle of the night, and I have cameras, of course. And so I've watched people go up and try my car doors that are on my driveway. And people forget sometimes to lock their doors, I don't, thank God. And they moved on and ended up going to my neighbor's, and I got them on camera on my neighbor's house. And they walk up to the car, open it up, and they rifle through there, and they steal money, they steal wallets, they steal computers, because that's what people leave in their cars for whatever reason, or didn't lock their cars. So these criminals know that if they go out in the middle of the night and go into areas that they've never been in before, because this is not normal for my area, but it is now because of, you know, the crime pays, right? You know, you don't have any responsibilities. Even if they were to get caught, the DA, as he sits right now, Gascon, the DA, will not prosecute them unless you have maybe hit a politician or a family member of a politician or something like that. Then they're going to go ahead and enforce the law. Then they're going to go ahead and prosecute that person. But for you and me, all bets are off, right? So we all need to be vigilant. We all need to be paying attention out there. If you see something that's going on out in the community and you see some stranger walking up to cars, call the police. Whether you think they're going to get arrested or not is irrelevant. Call the police, because if the police keep getting called to your house or your area because people are suspicious and keep trying your car doors, the criminals are going to realize this area is what they're going to call hot. It means the police are always on us if we're in this area, so let's go someplace else that police don't come to. You want it to be hot for the criminals to where the police keep showing up. That's what we have to do, is teach our community members to also help the police to get in there and call when you see stuff like this. My neighbor across the street, their car got broken into. I was putting up my Christmas lights, and she came over and she says, just want you to show, and she got it on her Ring camera. And I said, great, you called the police, right? Well, no, they're not going to do anything. Wrong mindset. I said, please call the police. And when you call the police, tell them that your neighbor across the street has the guy on video. And I went to my video, and sure enough, I have his car, his license plate number, him getting out of his suspect's car, the passenger side. I'll walk up to the victim's car, open up the door, rifle through, and come out. He was in the car for 25 seconds and took a wallet and took money and took a few other items. That's how quick it is. But we have to call the police. They don't know that this is happening. And I said, you may not get your equipment back or what was stolen back, but because you reported it, I got to check my cameras and see that it had happened. There could be other people that had more major items taken, or maybe their car was stolen, right? That's a major item. That's a felony, right?
Yes.
And now that they've reported it and I've got it on video and a license plate, now they have information to actually prosecute the guy when they find him.
Yes.
Because police detectives use information from this case and this case and this case and this case and put it all together and go, oh, it's the same people. And that's how they're able to actually find a DA that will prosecute the crime. And that's how we can get these people off. So it's imperative that we, community members, if we see something that doesn't look right and people are coming up to cars and you know it's not their cars because they're checking every single car in the parking lot, call the police. Give the police the reason to be there to question this person. Who knows? That person may be wanted for murder. They're just looking for a car to get in to steal so they can get away. They just killed somebody behind the back alley or something. You know, that's what people need to understand is, why are these police pursuits happening? Well, the suspect knows why he's running, but the cops don't know.
Yeah.
Right? That could be a murderer.
Yes.
That person probably just could have murdered your grandmother, and you don't even know it yet. You know,
yes.
It's very important that you say something. You call the police when you see something that doesn't look right.
Yes, yes. The idea, I think, is this. See something, say something. And also, I think that the notion, the way I see it, is we have to look out for each other. We have to live with the mindset that we are a community.
Yes.
I look out for you, look out for me. So either all is well, or none is well. So it's like, you know, that's the only way so we can protect each other, as Mr. Brink would say. You know, it's very important, that person, you know, although you'll be like, oh, why are they pursuing, why there's a hard pursuit, you know, on this person, he seems fine. You never know, maybe he just killed someone, maybe he was getting away, you know? So, especially I think that I'm Chinese American, you know, I want to send a message to Chinese Americans. So, that's the only way. That's the only way we can survive. That's the only way we can live, you know, knowing that there's somebody out there that's watching out for me because I'm doing that for him. He's doing that for me. Everybody is doing that for everybody else. That's very important to have that mentality. Otherwise, you know, you are living a very, very stressful life. You know, and also this zero cash bail policy, though, I think also there's a fundamental, a defect, if you will, with that policy, though, is that it's sending a very wrong message to people, especially to children. Because if criminals are not locked up because of the zero bail policy, the children, they don't know, be like, you know, although he just robbed someone, but he's out. It's like, you know, he's not getting penalized. He's not getting punished. They'll be like, what's wrong with that? If he truly did something wrong, he should be in jail. He should be locked up. But he's not. Maybe I will do something like that as well. Because by not penalizing, by not locking up criminals, you are saying that, you know, hard work should not be rewarded. Because criminals don't get punished means hardworking people are not being rewarded for their hard work. You know, say for instance, I worked the whole day. You know, I made $200. The guy, you know, I spent, say, 8 hours probably, you know, working, you know, maybe I also did 2 more hours as overtime. I made $200 today. That's the whole day. I was exhausted. I made $200. That person, he spent 2 minutes. He broke into someone's window. He took $200 cash. I'll be like, and nothing happens to them. I'll be like, you know what? Why do I have to spend 10 hours working for the $200? He can easily get it with 2 minutes. Maybe I'll do that too, but nothing happens to him. Mm-hmm. You know, he's out. You know, I will, if that's the message you are sending, especially to children, they can easily misinterpret that. They can think that that's fine. That's legit because, you know, nothing happens to him. So I think this zero bail policy, it's more than just the sheer stupidity. I think in a way it's kind of like a poison. It's poisoning our children's minds. So it's kind of like I don't know who came up with that idea, especially, you know, George Gascon. You know, if you know you're watching, I'm just saying that your job is to protect people. But I feel like not only you are not doing your job, you are doing the opposite. By having this zero cash bail policy, you are encouraging people to commit crimes. You are encouraging criminals to commit more crimes because you are saying there's no punishment or the punishment is less. That's the message you are saying. By doing so, you are actually putting everybody, probably including yourself, lives at risk or property at risk. Yep. You know, you see what I'm saying? For instance, like, you know, if they're going to rob someone, they're going to look into someone's car, they're going to send a message, you know what, if you are Mr. George Gascon, I'm going to leave you alone. If you're not, I'm going to do it. They're not going to do that, you know? So I think, you know, if not only you're not doing your job, you are actually doing a disservice. You are hurting everybody. So, you know, I'm trying to be polite, but I don't know if there's a polite way of saying this. You know, if you have that self-respect, you should step down. You know, so in addition to that, I think that in addition to public safety, in addition to getting rid of zero cash bail policy, and also one of my platforms is also lower taxes. And also I heard there's this something ridiculous, you know, it's called a mileage tax. Mr.
Mileage
Blink.
tax, yes.
Yeah.
So,
can you tell us about it? Yeah.
So our wonderful government has decided to, because those that are, let's say they live in Riverside and they work in downtown Los Angeles because they can only afford a place in Riverside because they don't make enough money to afford something in Los Angeles. They're now driving from Riverside all the way to Los Angeles and back. So let's say it's 120 miles round trip for them every single day to go to work. They're going to be charged a tax on that mileage. And now, and of course, they still have a gas tax. They haven't talked about getting rid of the gas tax. And I'm sorry, our government has no problem keeping the gas tax and then adding a mileage tax on top of that. But at any rate, even if they were to get rid of that, the people that get hurt the most are your poorest communities, because they're the ones that have to drive the most to get to a job, to be able to live, to be able to afford something. And our government thinks that that's the better way to go. But let's say you take a trip in your car from California to the Grand Canyon or Yellowstone or someplace far away, right? You're putting a couple of thousand miles on your car for this trip, and you come back in the state of California, and because you have to report your mileage to the state of California for your tax on your mileage, you're paying for a tax that you didn't even do in the state of California. How is that right? How is that fair? And then I've heard, when I've used that argument, oh, we're going to put a GPS on your car so we can track when you're in the state of California. Folks, Big Brother wants to watch every single move that you make. You take $600 out of the bank, it's reported to the federal government. How is this freedom? This is not freedom. They're trying to control you and control how far you can go and where you can go, and this is how they're doing it. We need to stop this nonsense. We need to actually bring or get rid of the gas tax, because that's actually been abused by our politicians. And we need to give the control of our government back to the people. People like David, we need to have in office to put the control back to the people and not to the politicians. That's what we need. And we need your help to do it. We need you to tell your neighbors to stop voting for these other people and voting for the people that actually care about our communities. We have David and others that are going to be on the ballot that we need to think about and vote for, and quit voting for the status quo of what's happening in Sacramento. But this is what's happening is they continue to come up with these new taxes because they want more money. They have a spending problem in Sacramento and in Washington, D.C. We have to stop this spending problem. You and I have a budget at home. We only have so much that we can spend. And if we can't bring in that money to do it, then we cut back something so we stay within our budgets. Our government has not done that for years. And that's part of the problem. We have to basically make our government tighten their belts and reduce spending, not spend more. And that's what they're doing, and that's why they keep coming up with these taxes, because they have such an appetite of spending money that they don't care. We'll tax them for it. And that's what's happening, and that's why we are taxed so much. We need to stop it. We need to stop it now, and we got to get people like you in there to stop it immediately as soon as you get there.
Totally. Yeah, so as Mr. Blink was saying, you know, the one thing that's so ridiculous about mileage tax, though, is that people usually who would travel long distance to commute to work are people who live on the outskirts, you know, the people who have less money. So basically, you are being punished. You have to pay more money for that stupid mileage tax for being poor.
Yep.
So basically, that's the idea. So basically, you already have less money. Now you're going to have even, like, you know, with the very limited money you have left, now you have to take a big chunk out of that and to pay this so-called mileage tax. So how is that going to help you? The whole concept, the whole idea is stupid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. So in addition, actually, to being a retired sergeant from Los Angeles County Sheriff Department, and also a former candidate for State Assembly for the 49th District. Actually, Mr. Brink is also a chairman of Crime Survivors. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. Crime Survivors was started about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Our CEO was a victim of attempted murder, and she basically told God that if you have me survive, I'm going to work and help victims of crime, because when she was the victim, there were no services or very little services out there to help victims of crime, help them through their ordeal. Sadly, because of budget cuts and things like that, the services we had for victims have gone by the wayside. So she started this organization called Crime Survivors to help domestic violence, attempt murder, basically victims of any crime. Doesn't matter if you're male, female. It's all about making sure that they can have support, a place that they feel safe. We help them with gas cards. We give them a place to stay. If they're trying to get out of an abusive relationship and they have no place to go, there really are not any programs. We're a program that helps someone to have a safe place. As a matter of fact, when you go onto the website, there's even a button that you can click on there that will remove that website immediately if your abuser walks into the room and it puts you on a toy site or something. It takes you to a totally different site that you're looking for toys for your kids or something to that effect. It's really important, because as a police officer, I've seen these victims of domestic violence or robberies. Somebody gets dragged. So the young lady that got dragged in the parking lot in Costco, she could use our services if she needed help to have some emotional help or counseling, anything like that to help them as well. And so that's what this organization does. We're celebrating our 20 years this year. We just had our fundraising event for the 20-year celebration, and we have an open house that's coming up this next week. And it's to help people know that the resources are here. It's for Southern California. We cover from Ventura all the way down to San Diego and Arizona, Nevada borders. And law enforcement uses us because they know that there aren't any services available for victims. And so human trafficking, we have a lot of people that are victims of human trafficking that we help out as well. Our Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Special Victims Unit works very close, hand-to-hand closeness with us to help these victims who have been trafficked, raped, their children that have been trafficked, raped. And because we have people like Gascon that doesn't prosecute these things, or they encourage these problems, we're here to help them. And there's a lot of counseling that's involved, and we have weekly support groups that go through that. We train the police officers to know what to do for a victim so that they can get out of their police mind for just that one moment that they need to show compassion for the victims. Because as law enforcement officers, we may not have compassion all the time because we are so hard with everything that we have to deal with. I mean, one minute I could be dealing with giving birth to, helping a birth of a child. I've delivered 3 of them, as a matter of fact. The next call, I'm getting shot at by somebody who's coming out of a bank. So we have all sorts of things. So sometimes we don't have the compassion we need to have for a victim of a rape or a victim of domestic violence or that type of thing. And our organization helps train those police officers as well on how to deal with dealing with a victim of crime and bringing them to our resources so that they have a place to go, or they have somebody who can help them get through that, because it's a very traumatic experience being a victim of a crime, especially a violent crime. And that's what our organization does.
Wow. It's very impressive, and also it's very admirable. So if people, they want to like help out in whatever way, that's suitable for them? Like how do they get in touch with the organization?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's called Crime Survivors Incorporated. So crimesurvivors.org is the website.
Yeah.
You can go on there. It says there's a donation link. It also explains everything that we do and the things that we've passed out and handed out to folks as well. And just buying a case of diapers helps out. Obviously, the financial support, because on the financial side, we do not accept any government help. And the reason we do not accept government help, they've said, "Oh, we'll give you a couple $1 million if you, to help you with your organization," but you can't talk out against the politicians who have made your life basically a living hell. And so the board members and our CEO all discussed it, and it's like, we're not here for your government handout. We're here to help people. And part of our helping people is to be able to speak out against the politicians who are causing us to have more victims. And so that is our main goal, is to do that. So all of our Crime Survivors is funded by people like you and corporations that want to help us. And that is very important to have, so that we have the resources to do that. I'm proud to the fact that we won't take money from the government to shut us up, because we want to be that voice for the voiceless, the victims, and really the children. The children out there don't have that voice. I have a voice because I was a police officer. I ran for state assembly. I have followers on my social media. I can get a voice out for these children, and I want to make sure that our organization's able to be the voice for the children and victims, and the real victims here in the state of California. There's another organization called Crime Survivors that doesn't have the ink on the back of it, and they are actually for crime suspects. They actually think that the suspect is the victim here and not the victim of the crime that they committed against them. Yes. Yes.
That's so ridiculous.
And for us to sue them costs so much money. We're just like, well, we have our logo and we're doing what we're doing, and we just forget about them and we focus on our victims, because that is the true victims that need the help. The suspects don't need the help. The victims do. When you have a suspect that tries to stab you and you're stabbed 15 times, that victim needs the help. That suspect doesn't need that type of help. They do maybe need mental health, but they don't need the help from our group. And so it's very important, and this is why we need, people like you out there to help support us. And it is, 93% of the money that comes in all goes right back out to the victims. We only have 7% costs for running the organization. Board members do not get paid, so we actually pay into our organization to be a board member. But that's because that's how much we believe in taking care of these victims.
Okay. It's just so admirable. It's not about money, as you just heard. If they could easily have got millions of dollars from the government, but that would defeat the purpose of helping victims. They said no to the money, because it's not about money. It's about helping victims. Me, you, everybody could be a victim. You're not yet, but just for instance, me, right? My car was broken into about a week ago, So it can happen to anybody and everybody, especially, as Mr. Brink was saying, it's about victims who are children. They don't have a voice. They don't have anything, They need you. They need me. And to be precise, I think it's like we need us, because I think the very idea about being an American is to have the concept of community. I look out for you, you look out for me. I help you, you help me. Especially, I think, small children, they need help. So as Mr. Brink was saying, nobody got paid. He is not getting paid. He actually has to pay to be a board member. It's about helping small children. So And I really want you, each and every single one of you, to take this message very seriously. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. $20, $50. It's not just about the money. It's, as the saying goes, it's a thought that counts. It's the fact that you did something good. You will feel good about it. Something happens to you, you will be helped by the organization as well.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I'm really happy. I'm honored and to have Mr. Brink here with me. We just did this big segment. At the end of the day, the idea is this: it's not about me, or it's not about Mr. Brink. It's not about Mr. Brink's organization, Crime Survivors. It's about each and every single one of us. We do what is right. We can no longer live in fear. We do not have to pay the stupid mileage tax. That's, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Brink.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.